Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hi.
Oh.
I'm Christa Wessel. I'm the early morning host at All Classical Portland. And yeah, good response. That's the perfect, I've trained you well. And this is Paul Kim, who is the resident conductor of the Oregon Symphony.
Happy to be here, of course.
Would your mom be embarrassed if I pointed her out?
Oh my goodness, are you serious?
His mom's in from Philadelphia. Hi.
This is so embarrassing.
No, I think it's really sweet. Does she come see you very often?
No, this is actually only the second time in Portland she's visiting me.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
welcome. And you've been here with the Oregon Symphony now for
3 years.
That's
Three long and feels like short years. It does.
And this is your last season as resident
It is.
conductor of the Oregon Symphony. Wow.
What? No aw or nothing? What? Oh, there you go. Thank you. Okay, we weren't supposed to have fun.
As I was walking in, I don't know if you guys have seen the Salmon Street stage entrance of the Schnitzer Concert Hall. There are big posters, one of Carlos, one of Concertmaster Sarah Kwok. There's a big one of you, too. And I was
Big one, really big one.
I was looking at it saying, how has he changed in the last 3 years?
You think so?
I think
Are you telling me that I'm getting older?
a little bit older. Wait, what are you? You're like 30.
In my 30s.
Okay, 30s.
Let's just put it that way.
But you've lost some weight from the picture.
Yeah, I lost baby fat a little bit. And, when you're not in school anymore, you don't eat that cafeteria food. No.
Is it a strange question to ask what you've learned over these 3 years? I mean, because this is kind of a big position, being backup for Carlos. You've got your own subscription concert tonight, leading a lot of pops and kids concerts.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the experience I've had here is just tremendous, It's just, I can't exchange for anything else, really. Fine, when you're an instrumentalist, let's say you have a violin, you're a violinist. You can say you're a violinist because you have a violin, you bought a violin, you studied violin, and then people know, oh, you're a violinist. But what do you do when you're a conductor? You need an orchestra, right?
Yes.
You think about it that way. So, the best way to do it is to get in front of an orchestra and just conduct away. And that's exactly what I did here, and I've made so many friends, great patrons, great musicians here, and I can't tell you how happy I have been and will be for a very long time.
Well, you were just chosen for a very special, what would you call it, fellowship, something, a Bruno Walter...
Oh, the National Conductor Preview, which is hosted by the League of American Orchestras. And they select 5 of the best, should I say, or up-and-coming young conductors to present to the rest of the world, saying these guys are okay.
So that's a series of concerts, a concert?
We're doing a concert in which, actually, it will be in Nashville with the Nashville Symphony. And you know who's there?
Our former concertmaster, Jun Iwasaki.
That's right. So I'll try to
Be
behave.
good. Yes, exactly. So what will that event do for you? I mean, it's one thing to be chosen and have the Orchestra League say, keep an eye on this guy. But
I hope they will do more than keep an eye on it.
Not like chaperone, but like, here's somebody to watch. But so it's a concert.
It's a concert, and
there will be important people there.
There will be people who will come and check it out, and I don't know, make offers hopefully, and music directorships, guest conducting privileges, and all those things. That everything that a young conductor, I say young conductor, will still need, right?
And so will you remain based in Portland, even after your...
For now, because, I think I've said this many times, but the moment I got here, I said to myself, I want to retire here. And I didn't watch Portlandia, no, that's literally what some anti-fans over there. it's amazing. It is an amazing city, and I've lived in so many different cities throughout this country, and of course in other parts of the world. But I am proud and happy to call this place my home for now.
For now, okay, good.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about, this is your last time on this podium, but you've got a couple more. This is the last subscription concert you're conducting.
Exactly,
You've got
exactly.
some pops things
Yeah,
coming
you'll
up.
see me a lot more. Don't say goodbye just yet.
Okay, I won't. I won't. And we were told not to have any fun doing this. Do you remember?
No.
Because last time we did this last season, I think we just laughed through the whole.
We laughed too much.
Too much.
I don't know why that's a problem these days, but
So let's be serious. Do you want to talk about?
okay, let's be serious.
We want to talk about Shostakovich.
Shostakovich, of course.
Let's be very serious
He's serious, yeah.
Well, let me start by saying you brought Shostakovich to this program when it was determined that Simone Lamsma, this wonderful violinist, was going to be playing Tchaikovsky on this program, and she was just here about a year and a half ago. She was playing
Just about.
Korngold with us about a year
She's
and a half
stunning. She's unbelievable.
And so you know that Tchaikovsky is going to be on the program, and then you get to flesh out the rest of it. And you chose Shostakovich's Symphony No. 1. Why?
I chose Shostakovich because, of course, on the surface there's that Russian connection. But Shostakovich to Russian people means more than just a composer. I have to say Shostakovich is more than a composer. He is a scribe of his times. He recorded what was happening around him, sometimes with his own feelings, sometimes hiding his own feelings. And Shostakovich Symphony No. 1, which we'll be performing tonight, was written as his, was it graduation? For his graduation, which was at the age of 19. Yeah, 19. I think 2 weeks ago or last week we did Mendelssohn's Midsummer Night's Dream. He wrote when he was 17. This is when he was 19.
But when you think, too, about composers in their first symphony, like Beethoven was in his 30s when he wrote his first symphony, Brahms in his 40s, right? Shostakovich, his first symphony, 19 years old.
19 years old, but already very mature. I mean, it's incredible. It's almost autobiographical because he starts the first movement with his recollections from his childhood, meaning, all these fables that he had heard from his nanny or in storybooks. For example, I mean, the whole first movement, I hear snippets of The Ant and the Grasshopper.
Aesop's fables?
That's right. That's right. How the ant is moving around fast and trying to collect food and store it for the winter, and the grasshopper is just like,
I'm just gonna sing in the sunshine.
Saying exactly the sun. It starts with the sun in the trumpet. It's beautiful, and then of course the winter comes and the grasshoppers hungry and begs for food. It goes on something like that. It's the music is a little sporadic, and it's also classical.
Do you know what it reminds me of, actually? I mean, I'm thinking about Shostakovich being 19 years old and who his mentors were and who he was absorbing, and he was absorbing Glazunov and Tchaikovsky, but Stravinsky. I hear so much Stravinsky, like Petrushka, in this opening.
There is a whole lot of Stravinsky. The folk tale part of Stravinsky, not the neoclassical part, which comes much later. But yeah, I mean, he was tremendously influenced by Stravinsky's music. There's almost an homage to Tchaikovsky. Sometimes we get this lush melody and soaring sound from the orchestra, and in the second movement, however. Once again, it's autobiographical. So he spent some time during his childhood playing in movie theaters, playing piano to silent movies. So in the second movement, you'll hear a whole lot of the piano banging away, as if, it's like, it's almost irrelevant to whatever else is going on. And the third movement, however, when it comes to third movement, he becomes mature.
Yeah, and I feel like the tone completely changes. Those first two movements are light and scurrying.
Yeah. As if he aged a couple of years older right at that moment. And of course, Russia in 1920s, there was a whole lot of things happening. Then there was Lenin. Well, the city of St. Petersburg, as we know of now, was named Leningrad around 1922 or 3, or something like that. And this piece was written in 1924, between 1924 and 1925. And you start to hear all this mood, this almost fear in his music. And it carries on this lament, almost, a prayer. There's like one section that is absolutely gorgeous because it sounds like about 1,000 people just crying very softly and praying for the better future. And then we move on to the fourth movement continuously. The third and fourth movement are continuous. And then there's this turmoil, this constant back and forth, as if Shostakovich is looking back in his childhood and he has to face reality at the age of 19, because life is so hard. But it was a different life back then.
This is where you start to hear like the political Shostakovich, I think.
Exactly. The Shostakovich that almost everyone knows of, from his fourth and fifth symphonies and on. That
satirical bite, that kind of nervous energy.
Exactly. But you don't hear, you get a glimpse of it, but then he brings back to Tchaikovsky. And then later, he just goes forward with his almost naive chanting of political propaganda. It's stirring music. It's absolutely great.
It's really quite a journey. And one thing I love about this symphony too, that yes, he was 19 when he wrote it. It was an instant success. Like within 3 or 4 years, it was performed in Berlin and New York. Like it just caught on like that from a 19-year-old, like recent.
That's right.
I don't even think he was a recent college graduate. I think he was still a student at the time,
That's
which
right.
is mind-blowing.
Yeah. The truth is, you can say a lot about communist regime and all those things, but what they did produce was some great artists. David Oistrakh, Leonid Kogan, Sviatoslav Richter, Shostakovich. Maybe perhaps without that political environment, we wouldn't have had those people. But.
So, with all of the praise we've been heaping on this symphony, I guess it's a silly question to ask why you chose this for this program. It's clear that you adore it, but do you have a particular history with this symphony?
I was lucky to have studied some of these things with people who have lived through the times, perhaps at the back end of the oppression. And I don't know, I identify with it very much. For some reason, I don't know, oppression, perhaps I identify.
When you say you worked with some Russians who lived through that time?
No, I was able to follow around a conductor like Yuri Temirkanov, and I did assist Vasily Petrenko on this piece as well, and spend some time with them on it. So it's quite natural to me,
Do you have a favorite moment personally? A favorite movement, a favorite moment?
Second movement, when that piano goes crazy. Oh man, if you don't laugh, I will make you laugh. I will turn around, literally.
Turn around, make a funny face.
That was it, guys. Get it?
Now, Shostakovich's First Symphony, instant success.
Yes.
The same cannot be said for Tchaikovsky's Violin Concerto.
Absolutely not. And one of the most, if not the most, adored concertos of all time. I mean, it was, when it was first written, people really didn't care for it. They literally said, this is garbage, or say Russian garbage, probably. Unplayable, which is nonsense, because it was, dedicated to an extremely well-known pedagogue, a pedagogue who taught Jascha Heifetz. I'm sure he could play it, Leopold Auer. He could play it, but I don't know, perhaps Perhaps it was just a personal conflict between him and Tchaikovsky. He just didn't want anything to do with it. Later, it was championed by a different violinist, but it still didn't take off quite.
Why do you think that is?
Perhaps Tchaikovsky was ahead of his time.
It's a huge concerto. I mean, it's longer than the Shostakovich Symphony.
It is. It is. But it doesn't feel long. Trust me. If you haven't, it's a journey, and it's a very. I don't know. It's a journey about life, about love, because Tchaikovsky speaks to us so directly. That's the thing.
He wears his heart on his sleeve.
Yeah.
Doesn't he?
I mean, if you say Beethoven speaks to the humanity, I have to say Tchaikovsky speaks to each individual. Really, it's just instantaneous. And you cannot help but fall in love with every single moment in that piece. And it's speculated that it was written for his lover at the time, but it was kind of taboo, so that was, the idea perhaps was hidden. So there's also that message, there's that hidden message, perhaps. But the concerto, I mean, it's a staple. We cannot, I love conducting that concerto. I mean, it's right up there for me.
You were a violinist before you started.
I was.
Did you play this concerto yourself?
I have played it. I've played it. It's funny because, you know, when I was a student, a violin student, I would practice the violin part, and in my mind, I would just have the orchestra parts going, you know.
Already a conductor.
Already, yeah. I don't know. I knew I would be a conductor, so better practice then.
So we mentioned that our soloist, Simone Lamsma, was here. I really think it was just a year and a half ago playing the Korngold Concerto. She's just a brilliant artist, and I'm wondering, after rehearsing with her, if you can give a few insights as to what she brings to this concerto that might be unique to her.
She makes it absolutely personal. Perhaps it's not the most classically Russian in its sense, but she makes it her own, and she imbues life into every phrase, and you can literally see a little flower blossoming here, and she goes up to smell it, and then she passes it on to you, and it's just, and it's caressing, and whatever. You will feel every kind of emotion known to mankind in that concerto with Simona playing.
That's beautiful. You know, when you're talking about Tchaikovsky, too, and how he just speaks to my heart. And at All Classical Portland, I air a Saturday night program called On Deck with Young Musicians, where I interview teenage musicians about their love of classical music. And invariably, when I ask them to name their favorite moments performing on stage, it's a Tchaikovsky symphony. Even at a young age, something about Tchaikovsky just reaches into your heart and squeezes it, doesn't it? Yeah.
It does.
So I'm happy to be hearing that tonight. One of my favorite things in the program book, you'll see in front of you, is the most recent Oregon Symphony performance of all of these pieces. So the last time this Shostakovich Symphony was performed was 2006. I think the Tchaikovsky Concerto just a couple of years ago. And the thing that we're opening up with, the Helios Overture by Carl Nielsen, last performed by the Oregon Symphony, 1993.
Yeah.
That's some time ago.
It
Why
is.
do you think it's been so long since we've heard this piece?
I don't know, because when the Helios Overture is the opposite of the Tchaikovsky Violin Concerto. When it was written, it was instant success. Now only the Danes play it.
Well, we played at All Classical Portland.
You did?
We do. Yeah.
Okay, and you guys, okay. But it's an amazing piece. It has a narrative, which is not specified by Nielsen, but it's almost picturesque how it begins and unfolds. Of course, you know, Helios is the Greek sun god, but I don't think Nielsen had a narrative for that figure specifically. I think he wanted to paint a broad picture of how he sees the sun coming up the horizon, and how it affects us. And it's absolutely stunning. I mean, kind of like the Strauss Alpine Symphony in 10 minutes. That is about 15 minutes and requires about 8 horns, so you're spared the...
But it is a piece of music that's like tracking the sun as it crosses the sky. So it starts quietly, it ends quietly. In the middle, there's this big bright... How did you describe it to me the other day? Kind of like the sun opens up and there's chariots, and you use such colorful language.
Yeah. I did?
Yeah, you did. I wrote it down. Yeah.
Why didn't you record that and just play that back? I can't repeat myself, Actually, I was thinking about it this morning, and the way, I don't know, maybe there's something wrong with me. Yeah. It's not just the sun coming up the horizon, but I feel like it's people pushing the earth so it will revolve, so the sun will have to come up. Huh. It feels that way, because it's that laborious beginning, and then it comes up, Because when the sun comes up, you just see it. It's very slow. It's beautiful. But it has this kind of laborious element to it that makes it human, I have to say.
And it's an interesting choice to start the show with. We're accustomed to having like light little overture that maybe ends with a bang. That's not this.
No. But it will definitely affect you. Because it will perhaps give you this color for the rest of the concert that you can savor.
Yeah, it's a nice choice, but you won't leave that tune humming anything. Whereas with the Shostakovich, I've been humming that little trumpet tune that opens. All day long I've been humming that.
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like that?
And then ding, dee 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 dee.
Little ants, Ding,
Okay, we're having too much fun again.
It's okay to laugh during the concert when you hear it. It's like, oh, that's funny. It's okay. I love it.
Is it okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where's that line? You hear people laugh? How about shouting things? No?
Musicians appreciate if you laugh or react in positive ways. Because it means the message reached our audience, and they absolutely appreciate that. And if you feel like, in that Shostakovich symphony, at any moment, you feel like it affects you somehow and makes you laugh or sigh, do it. It's okay, You're not going to remember the person sitting next to you. It's okay. Yeah.
That's what it comes down to, is that peer pressure. Like, what are they going to think?
Peer pressure. Oh, yeah, okay. in concert halls. Now we're talking. No. We're here to share everything. Our lives, our music, and our emotions. And otherwise, it's meaningless.
I love how this program shares so many different kinds of stories. We open with the story of the sunrise, and then Shostakovich and the journey of his life from young man to looking ahead to the...
It's literally like Shostakovich growing a beard in front of you.
And then Tchaikovsky putting his heart on his sleeve, falling in love.
Yeah.
This is a really wonderful program. I'm so glad you were here to share this chat with Paul and I. And if you know somebody who would enjoy watching this chat, it's been videotaped by my friend Joe right there, and it's going to be posted on the All Classical Portland website later on tonight. So tell your friends to head to allclassical.org to watch this chat. All the chats from this season and past seasons are at our website. You can learn a lot about music by listening to folks talk about
Of course.
Stuff like this. So thank you, Paul Kim. It's been a delight doing this with you, and over the last few years, it's been getting...
Always my pleasure.
I'm gonna get
Always.
teary.
It's okay. Stop doing that because we have 2 more times to do this.
Okay, right, tomorrow. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for coming. Christa Wessel.